Tyler. Jinx.
We got something completely different in the bag.
Yeah, this is a funky one.
We've definitely never done this here at the shop before. I feel like maybe also a lot of people haven't done this in general.
Yeah, I mean, these are pretty rare as, I mean, you could buy them, but I mean, they're not like a super popular car. But yeah, we have a Alfa Giulia 2.0T. We got, so let me just remember the company name here. This is from...
We got some goodies over here.
Euro Compulsion? Yeah. Alright, so we have, basically what we have here is a upgraded turbo with a heat management kit. So we have a upgraded heat exchanger here that's going to go in line with our factory heat exchanger. And then we have a secondary pump for that. So we have good flow going to all that. And then obviously all of our lines, brackets, and whatnot to go with that. We have our Teflon mounts here, or PTFE, whatever they are. Like that. And turbo inlet. Basically everything we're gonna need here to make a little bit more power. As you can see, we got a billet wheel in there.
Super cool, the blue.
And what was really cool on these, I noticed as I was unboxing it, I didn't look into it as far as what their website shows, but if you look inside there, we got polished volutes in this, which is really pretty cool.
What was that word?
Volute. So this is what you would call a dual voluted turbo. So you have two airways going to the exhaust housing. So you have different size pressure passages, which will allow it to spool faster and perform higher at higher RPMs.
Are you kidding me?
That being said, we got some parts to take off. We got our old guy in here.
So this is our completely stock, right?
Yeah.
Giulia
so far,
motor.
I mean, he had an intake. I think basically he was their stage 2 or phase 2, whatever. Or no, you know what? Stage 1 or stage 2? Whatever. I don't know. Either way, it was intake downpipe, and then their flash. I think he's got a downpipe on there. Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Yeah. So next step, turbo, and then some cooling management, which is always good.
Awesome. And do you know roughly, I'm putting you on the spot here, we might have to look it up, what stock numbers are on these cars?
That I don't know. We're going to have to look that up.
All right, we'll check that.
I know from what I was looking at this upgraded turbo kit, they were saying roughly around 400 that turbo will support. Now, that's support. I don't know what it's actually going to put out, especially on our dyno. We'll see if we even end up dynoing it. But yeah, pretty cool little car here.
Different project.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit different. And I think the other ones of these are just the V6. I think they're naturally aspirated, those ones, but yeah, cool little car. We'll see what we got going here.
Sweet.
Not too bad to get into it so far. We'll see.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, man.
And we're back.
Tyler, phase 1 complete. We got our heat exchanger installed. So, if you look down here, we have our new coolant pump in here, which gets teed into the coolant valve, which is underneath this hose right here. And then it goes forward and into our new heat exchanger, which mounts nice and nice up here.
Now, question for you.
Okay.
Is this necessary when doing like this turbo, or is this kind of like a
I think it's recommended, but not necessarily required.
Okay.
Obviously, you want air temps and any temps in general to be as under control as possible. I'm not going to say as low as possible, because obviously you want thermostat controlling things, but yeah, it's always better to have better heat control. You'll make more power over time. As in, like, you're not going to heat soak as fast and lose power. Yeah, that's pretty much done. So now every time the key is on, our relay will trigger, turn that pump on, circulate coolant.
Sweet.
The only other thing I have left to do is they give us a piece of black vinyl to cover here, because if we go to the bumper, I haven't looked at it yet, but
we got a special bumper.
Okay, no, here we go. So this portion here from factory is basically a bumper bar appearance cover.
Okay.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove that, and then we're gonna put our black vinyl where this would be, so you can't see the bumper support
crash
or whatever,
bar.
crash bar. Yep, there's the words. Thank you, Tyler. And we'll be good. It'll look like factory.
Dude, I'm excited to see that blue turbo in there.
Yeah. The billet wheel. It's nice,
yeah,
ain't it?
that's fire. Matches the car too. A little different, a little lighter blue,
Yeah,
but
actually, yeah, it does.
but it's
kind
cool.
of a little bit. Out in the sun, it does. Plus, he's got the windshield.
Oh!
Yeah, it matches that pretty good, huh?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I think I know the guy who like makes that stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool stuff. But yeah, let's get to it. Now we got to do the fun part. I think I'm gonna probably leave the bumper off for now.
Tear down face, give you a little bit more access, I guess.
Well, for me, I just like to, if I'm gonna take a bumper off to do, that's the whole reason I did the heat exchanger first. If I'm gonna have to take the bumper off for any portion of the job, I just go ahead and take it off in the beginning. This makes it impossible to bump into it and scratch it when you're working on it, or drop something on it, or spill, whatever. And it gives you a little bit of extra room. So I always check to see, like, oh, if I'm gonna have to take the bumper off for this step, I'll just do it now. And then out of the way.
Sweet.
So yeah, we'll wait till the end to put it back on, and obviously I'll run it and coolant test it first, because if we have a leak, we're not gonna be able to get to it with the bumper on.
Right.
But yeah, pretty straightforward on that one. Couple hours, not too bad. And that's that. Now onto the turbo.
Let's get this one out. Dylan.
Tyler.
There
we go.
it is.
Got her out.
The stock boy.
Yeah, so that's our stock guy. Pretty similar, as you can see. Weird design with their inlets on these, I'll tell you that much. But yeah, so
We were discussing. It looks easy.
it looks easy. It can be easy, but there's a couple things that their procedure is god awful. It tells you to take a water pipe off that's nowhere near the turbo, all that. So I didn't do any of that. The problem is, the turbo sits in here like this, right? Your heat shield sits like this in here. Now, there's one bolt down here, or nut rather, on a stud that the oil drain blocks. So you can't get to the stud to get the heat shield off, so you can't get to any of your nuts. Which one of those nuts is the one that holds the heat shield on anyway. So, at first I was like, alright, I'll pop the drain off the bottom of the turbo, pull it out of the way, and then I can get to the nuts. No. What I did was, I ended up taking the downpipe completely out. Then this bracket, which probably shouldn't have been in the car anyway, because this is the stock downpipe bracket, so this just got left in there. Get that out of the way, because this blocks the oil drain. 2 Torx bolts, take that out, and then you can access these really easily.
Sweet.
Well, once you take this out, then you can get your shield off. Then you can get your turbo bolts off. Because what I originally did, if anybody watched the Hyundai video, you probably remember I split the turbo to do that one. Yep. That's what I was going to do on this one. If you see, the clamp is completely off, and it just did not want to separate. So I kind of just left it, I'll bolt it back together, and then do the other one as a unit anyway. But yeah, side by side, obviously from the outside, pretty much the same. Inside's clearly different. Yeah, larger and
definitely
clearly
bigger.
a billet wheel. Yeah, so we'll get her back in here.
Awesome.
Make some noises.
You guys can see over here now. It's all opened up.
Yeah. Yeah, this shield I just kind of bent up because it gets bolted behind everything. I just kind of bent it up so you can access everything a little bit, and then just fold it right back down. It'll bolt down to the turbo, and that's it.
Sweet. Let's get the new one in.
Yeah, man.
All right, Dylan.
Tyler?
We got some changes here.
I'm going through changes. Yeah. intake, which kind of coincided with the water pump install that we did earlier. The pump, so the secondary pump for the heat exchanger gets mounted to the same spot that bracket gets mounted to, which is in place of that factory box over there and that silver bracket over there. So that's gone. And then we get this. We have our turbo in. And then kind of a funky turbo inlet setup on these. You're going to use the stock turbo inlet. That's just going to go in between here. It bolts down and then kind of just sits in the inlet. And then you just clamp your new intake onto there. Then you have this cool distribution block that they have for your PCV and your evap hose there. So it just clicks in. Got one hose there. That's pretty much it for that. And then as you walked over, I was putting in the diverter spacer.
Yep.
We're going to see if that works. Pretty hit or miss on whether or not the vehicle will throw a code for it. A lot of times, like the Audis and whatnot, if you use a DV spacer, so basically what a spacer is going to be doing is it's going to turn it from a diverter valve, which for those who don't know is going to divert the charge air when you let off the throttle back into the intake so that you don't lose boost pressure as fast, or it's recycled. The spacer is going to be hybrid, so I don't think this car will care because the outlet for the pipe is behind any sort of sensor, but a lot of times what happens is the car will see the charge pressure come down too fast after you let off the gas, and it'll think that the diverter's stuck open. So we'll see if that does happen. We'll have to get rid of the diverter spacer, but yep, we'll always try it because he wanted it. So
cool.
We'll see if it works. So
it's looking good in here.
Yeah,
I like the red.
Pretty much ready for a fire up here. We just got to do finish that off and then install that tuning box that came with it, and then we should be ready to put some fluids in it and
awesome.
And
now,
see.
With that tuning box, you have to download any software, or is that just like kind of?
Yeah.
Like
so for him, he's already on their software, so I think it should be easier for us. I know.
Cool.
They sent us some stuff to make it a little bit easier. I haven't quite gotten there yet, but I know in there it said say like skip to a certain step. So I'm assuming whatever was downloaded is probably already on the car, and then we just have to switch it to something else. But
sweet.
Yeah, it looks all plug and play, nothing crazy. And that was an option, I believe, as well. I don't think you had to use that box.
Okay.
So I think that's more of like a extra add-on. But yeah.
Let's get to this cold start.
Yeah, man.
All right, Dylan. We're flashing.
After turning on the ignition. We are flashing. This is a new tuner for me, so bear with me. It says wait. That was probably 7 seconds, right?
Parts
communicating.
We're looking good.
We're looking good, man.
T-minus 5 minutes till cold start.
Ideally less, to be honest.
All right, Dylan.
Tyler.
Ready for a cold start.
We're ready for something.
Cold start.
Hold on.
So this has a catback that was previously put on. We didn't put it on. And I don't know, was there a downpipe?
Yeah.
And a downpipe. So there was a downpipe and a catback already on this.
Yep, downpipe, catback already on it.
And we're getting the cold start.
Make sure we're clear.
All clear! All clear!
You clear?
All clear!
Clear?
Start it up!
We'll be right back.
One eternity later.
All right, Dylan, we have made our way to the street test.
We're on the
with
road
Alfa.
in the Alpha, and it's not in limp mode.
This might be a crazy, I don't know where we left off, so I apologize, but we ran into some issues that Dylan will...
We probably left off with saying, oh, we're gonna flash it.
Right.
And then it was just nothing. So basically we went to flash it. It didn't like it. Just to back up a little bit, the customer supplied, we don't tune these cars. We don't tune Alphas for a reason. It's just not an easy thing to do as far as unlocking and not having issues with them. That being said, the customer supplied a tuner that we were going to use. It didn't really work out. We ended up having to have him send the ECU to the tuner, have it flash on the bench, and now it seems to be good. The other issue we had was a coolant leak, as I stated before, as we were inside. Turns out that the plug that whoever put the turbo together put in was just completely loose. So if you do buy a turbo from this company, just double check all that. I don't know if they do it in-house or they send it out, whatever. Not pointing fingers, but that's what it was. So if you do have one of these, check that, because that was leaking. So it was a good thing that the customer saw that. Or I think he actually saw a little bit of steam. So before that, if that plug came all the way out, it would have been an issue. But we're good now. Seems to drive pretty well. Just kind of testing it now, making sure we're all good, because we never got a chance to finalize this one.
Right.
Feels solid.
Feels good.
Yeah. Well, the most important thing is it seems to be running smooth.
Right.
And
That's what we
I
want.
didn't hear or feel any knock or anything like that. Good to go, man. We'll let it run, let it heat cycle, just make sure we have no coolant leaks, which normally we do when the car gets tuned,
Right.
but
We
this
didn't
was
get
a bit
to
of
do
an odd
that.
situation. But
Yep. But it was
so now we're doing that now.
Yeah, and it was cool to, I think, show something different. We rarely
Something
get these at
different.
the shop, so
Yeah, and it's yes, they're Mopar owned, but they're not designed by the same people that design, you know, a Chrysler or whatever.
Right.
So the engine setup and everything is very different. So even though it's technically a Chrysler, it's not, you know, the design is very different. And we actually had the, what's the other one? The SUV. I'm drawing a blank. The Stelvia?
Yeah, the Stelvio.
Okay, so we had one of those in this morning that I was doing an oil change on next to this, so we actually got a chance to kind of lay them next to each other, and they're very similar. Same engine on that one. Now, of course, you can option for the V6 on these. I believe the only all-wheel drive you can get is with the 2.0 turbo.
Yeah.
So those were both options with that. It was pretty identical left to right as far as turbo setup and everything. Just a little bit more room in the Stelvios.
Sweet.
But
this one's finally finished up.
yeah, we're just gonna let it run now. Make sure we got no more leaks, no nothing, and make sure he's good to go.
Awesome.
Obviously he went through a little bit of a headache with this, so we want to
With
make
the
sure
tuning.
we want to make sure he's happy at the end of the day and no issues.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks, Dylan.
no problem.